Hello and welcome into this week's ARCA Menards Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's ARCA Rewind, we're looking back at Saturday night's Menards 250 presented by Matrix Care. 250 laps, 93.8 miles. Around the 3/8 mile Elko Speedway in Elko, Minnesota. Very exciting race as it usually is from Elko, the only track on the ARCA schedule under a half mile. And as usual, it presented us with a very good product. 7 caution flags for a total of 62 laps. Had a long green flag run to start the race at least. We went the first 120 laps caution free before the first caution came at lap 121 for debris in turns 1 and 2. And then, as they say, cautions breed cautions, and we had a bunch of cautions after this point. Lap 135, shortly after we went green for the first caution, we go back under yellow for oil from the 06 of Tim Richmond being down in turns 1 and 2, and it didn't seem like they really found all of the oil from this because there were reports that it was still out on the track after this caution, and it may have been the cause for the next caution. Chandler Smith had been leading up until this point, definitely had the fastest car in this race, but on lap 145, Smith spun in turn 2 by himself, leading, very out of character for Chandler Smith, and there were reports that there was still oil down in turns 1 and 2, and that was the cause for Chandler spinning there in turns 1 and 2. Definitely made for an exciting remainder of the race, though, as Chandler battled his way back through the field. Lap 166, the 27 of Travis Braden spun in turn 4, lap 181 multi-car incident in turn 3, involving the 7 of Eric Caudell, the 32 of Howie DiSavino, and the 77 of Joe Graff Jr. Lap 202, the 23 of Brett Holmes got into Travis Braden in turn 2, and Braden went around. And lap 211, final caution of the night, the 7 of Eric Caudell spun on the backstretch. 95 laps led by Chandler Smith in this race, definitely led the most laps in this race. 69 laps, though, went to Christian Eckes from the pole. 31 laps were led by Ty Gibbs. 29 laps went to Michael Self, and 17 laps were led by Sam Mayer. 7 lead changes in this race. Christian Eckes led the first 69 laps from the pole before Ty Gibbs took the lead on lap 70. Led the next 22 laps before Chandler Smith made his way up to the lead. Smith led the next 53 laps before having his spin in turn 2. Michael Self took the lead then under caution and led from lap 145 to 173 the next 29 laps before Ty Gibbs again took the lead for 9 laps. Travis Braden then during pit stops assumed the lead on lap 183. He led for 9 laps before Sam Mayer went to the lead on lap 192. Mayer led for 17 laps before finally having to relinquish the lead to Chandler Smith on lap 209. And Smith led the next 42 laps on his way to the victory. Chandler Smith picks up his 3rd win of the 2019 season. A fantastic run out of Smith. Having already won at Toledo and Madison this year, picks up the 3rd win now in Elko. Definitely a force to be reckoned with on the short tracks in ARCA this season. Of course, not old enough to run anything except short tracks, except now that he's 17, he will run Pocono in a couple of weeks. But other than that, can't run anything else that's not a short track. Still, though, definitely a force to be reckoned with on these short tracks, and he is definitely proving that week in and week out when he shows up on the ARCA side. Ty Gibbs came home with a strong 2nd place finish. It's amazing how many times Ty Gibbs can come home in 2nd. He did finally pick up that first win a couple weeks ago at Gateway, but still somehow finding a way to come home in 2nd even after that first win. Very talented kid nonetheless, and we're going to see a lot more wins out of Ty Gibbs going forward. Sam Mayer came home in the 3rd spot. Michael Self 4th, and Corey Heim 5th. The rest of your top 10 were Carson Hocevar, Joe Graff Jr., Haley Deegan came home in the 8th position, Brett Holmes 9th, and Howie DiSavino in his first ARCA start rounded out the top 10. Now, there is a name that led a bunch of laps that I think you would expect to see on this top 10 list, and he is not there. As we flip the page now to 11th through 20th, we will see Christian Eckes here in the 11th position. held off Ty Gibbs for a long time, holding down that second position on that final run. Finally had to relinquish second to Ty Gibbs there with a couple laps to go. Sam Mayer, I believe, got by on the last lap, and then Eckes was battling with his teammate Michael Self for that fourth position. And Self, admittedly, after the race, got a little greedy going down into turn 3 on the final lap. Got extremely aggressive and ends up turning Eckes in the final set of corners on the last lap. And Eckes goes from a sure top 5 run to 11th. And definitely not the points night he was looking for. He already had a pretty big hole after missing Salem earlier in the year, trying to slowly chip away at Michael Self's lead in the points, and unfortunately this doesn't do him any favors, as we'll see when we get to the points here momentarily. Travis Braden, after his disappointing night, he came home 1 lap down in 12th. But that's your results from the Menards 250. We're working on a Chandler Smith interview. Don't have it quite scheduled just yet. Trying to figure out when we can fit into his schedule. Once we have that done, though, it will be linked down below in the description if you're watching this after that has already gone up. But if you're already subscribed and you have those notifications turned on, you will get a notification when that goes up. So definitely something you need to be doing. But in the meantime, we will take a look at the ARCA Menards Series points following Elko. Of course, Michael Self does still lead. Now holds a 65-point gap over Brett Holmes, more than doubling his lead on Holmes in this race after Self finished in 4th and Holmes back in the 9th position after a not-so-great night from Brett Holmes. Travis Braden's bad night digs him an even deeper hole. He is now 100 points back there in the 3rd position. And then Christian Eckes back here, still in 4th, 115 points back from Michael Self now. It was looking like he could have possibly chipped away a little bit at that gap last night from Elko. Unfortunately, just not quite able to really do anything from that, and instead digs himself a deeper hole. We've only got 7 races left now in the ARCA schedule for 2019. As good as Michael Self runs every week, it's going to be tough for Christian Eckes to make up that gap. Can he make up that gap? Yes. It's going to be very tough, though. He's definitely going to need to win a couple more races, I think, before the end of the season. He can do that, but the question is, will he? And, of course, down here in 5th, Joe Graff Jr., he is now 225 points back from Michael Self there in the 5th position. He didn't have a great night in Elko either. But that's your point standings following the Menards 250, and I believe that will do it for us on this ARCA Rewind. Cup Rewind went up a little bit ago for their Kentucky race that also happened last night. And then, of course, Xfinity and Truck Rewinds went up earlier in the weekend for their Kentucky races as well. I believe, besides the Chandler Smith interview, whenever that does go up, Diecast Review should be the next thing coming up here on RNN on Wednesday. We're looking at Chase Elliott's 2018 Kansas win in that one. Fantastic looking car. That's one you'll definitely want to check out. Personally, I think that's the best diecast that I've ever seen in person. It just looks fantastic. So definitely one you'll want to check out. But if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. But at that, this has been the ARCA Menards Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.